Under the pale glow of Los Angeles streetlights, the bold and the beautiful takes a chilling turn on Friday, November 21st, when Luna Nozawa's fate teeters between life and death. The air feels thick with dread and inevitability as the show transforms from a glamorous family saga into something darker, an unfolding mystery drenched in fear, guilt, and desperation. What began as a romantic storyline now unravels into a psychological thriller, where every heartbeat, every scream, and every drop of rain becomes a part of the haunting score surrounding Luna's disappearance. The previous episode on Thursday already hinted that something monumental was coming. The camera lingered too long on Luna's trembling hands, on her tear-streaked face, on the restless shadows that seemed to follow her. The producers built an atmosphere of tension so taut that when the headlights appeared in the fog, it felt less like an accident and more like destiny. For weeks, Luna had been a woman trapped between truth and illusion, loyalty and betrayal, love and survival. She carried secrets that could shatter reputations and expose betrayals woven deep into the fabric of the Forrester world. Each person who pursued her had a motive. Some wanted revenge, others sought to protect their own sins from exposure. The episode painted each suspect with shades of guilt, their faces illuminated by the dim, flickering light of suspicion. By the time Luna's silhouette appeared running down the road, viewers already sensed the doom circling her like vultures over prey. The sound of screeching tires cut through the silence, a sudden, merciless intrusion into her desperate flight for freedom. Whether the impact was real or a deceptive twist, the image of her body falling beneath the blinding beams has already burned itself into the memory of everyone who watched. The camera didn't linger on blood or broken bones. Instead, it focused on the stillness, on the echo of her final gasp, on the eerie beauty of tragedy suspended in time. Perhaps Luna wasn't meant to die that night. Perhaps someone behind the wheel wanted her to, but hesitation or fate altered the outcome. If she survives, it will not be out of mercy. It will be a cruel extension of her suffering. Her body may be broken, but the real damage lies within, the terror of knowing that whoever struck her may come back to finish the job. The road Luna fell upon feels symbolic now, like a path between two worlds, the world of the living, where lies reign, and the shadow realm of truth, where everything hidden demands its reckoning. What if the driver doesn't call for help? What if the person who finds her chooses silence, driven by fear or vengeance? The thought alone makes the story's pulse quicken. Luna's blood on the pavement could become a stain that spreads through every family tied to her name, turning love into guilt and loyalty into complicity. The beauty of the bold and the beautiful lies in its ability to disguise horror within glamour, to make tragedy shimmer beneath the sheen of perfection. Luna's arc has always been about duality, the innocent girl with the haunted eyes, drawn into a world that promised everything and gave nothing but ruin. Now, as she lies on the edge of life, her secrets become the most valuable currency in Los Angeles. Who will pay the price to keep them buried? The show has carefully built an ensemble of potential killers. R.J. Forrester, consumed by guilt and confusion, may have followed Luna to confront her over the lies tearing them apart. Poppy, Luna's mother, carries a desperate kind of love, a love that suffocates and destroys when cornered. Even Lee Finnegan, whose moral compass bends under the weight of family shame, might have seen Luna's disappearance as an act of mercy. And what of Zend, the man whose obsession with Luna blurred into jealousy? Each of them could have been behind the wheel that night. Each has a reason to silence her forever. The genius of the writing is that it never tells us outright who did it. It lets us feel it, suspect it, fear it. The next episode will no doubt open not with screams or sirens, but with silence. The silence of guilt, of unanswered questions, of someone staring into a mirror and wondering if they have crossed the point of no return. Perhaps Luna's body is never found where she fell. Maybe the waves from the pier swallowed her whole, her final breath mixing with the salt of the ocean. Or perhaps she was found, but by the wrong person. If one of her enemies discovered her first, that person might have seen opportunity where others would see tragedy. The thought that someone could drag her limp body away, not to help but to hide her, adds another layer of dread to the mystery. Will the show reveal Luna's survival as a cruel twist, a case of mistaken death, or will it deliver a final, haunting image of her slipping into oblivion? Either path promises to shake the foundations of every relationship tied to her. What The Bold and the Beautiful has achieved this week is more than suspense. It's an exploration of how beauty and brutality coexist. The city lights, the polished cars, the designer clothes, all these symbols of success and glamour now contrast sharply with Luna's fragility. The girl who once represented youth and hope has become a ghost haunting everyone who ever claimed to love her. In many ways, Luna's story mirrors the city she lives in, beautiful on the surface, but beneath it lies chaos, betrayal, and the unbearable cost of ambition. As the week draws to a close, fans are left questioning not only who hit Luna, but why fate seemed to target her so cruelly. Was it punishment for her secrets, or merely the consequence of other sins? Perhaps the real mystery is not who drove the car, but what drove them to it. Each suspect's life is now defined by that one terrible moment. Whoever was behind the wheel didn't just hit Luna, they fractured their own soul. The guilt will rot slowly, poisoning relationships, unearthing truths long buried under the sheen of family loyalty. And if Luna survives, she will awaken into a world far crueler than the one she left behind, a world where everyone she trusted has something to hide. The pier, which once symbolized freedom, now becomes her possible grave. The ocean's waves that once whispered solace might now conspire to conceal the truth. But maybe Luna's story isn't over. Soap operas rarely end with death, they end with resurrection. Could Luna vanish, presumed dead, only to return months later under a new identity, scarred and seeking revenge? That possibility electrifies the storyline. The beauty of The Bold and the Beautiful lies in its cyclical nature. Pain gives way to rebirth, betrayal leads to revelation. Luna's tragedy may become the seed of her transformation. And when she returns, if she returns, it won't be as the fragile girl everyone pitied, but as a woman forged by betrayal, reborn through pain. Until then, the mystery lingers like perfume after the storm. Who was behind the wheel? Was it an accident, or was Luna hunted? What happened after the headlights dimmed and her body disappeared from the road? Every silence in the next episode will carry meaning. Every glance will hide guilt. And viewers, like detectives, will watch closely for the smallest crack in someone's composure, the tremor in a hand, the hesitation in a breath that reveals the truth. Luna Nozawa's story is no longer about love or redemption. It's about survival and the haunting question of how far people will go to protect their secrets. The show's brilliance lies in blurring the line between victim and villain, in making us wonder whether Luna's purity was real or another illusion crafted to manipulate sympathy. In the end, the tragedy on that dark road is not just hers. It belongs to everyone who looked the other way, everyone who chose silence over honesty. Friday's episode promises revelations, but the real shock will not come from what we see, but from what we realize, that beauty and cruelty have always been intertwined, and that Luna's fall is only the beginning of the storm waiting to consume them all. The night was thick with mist, the kind that blurs the edges of reality and makes headlights appear like floating specters on an endless road. The Bold and the Beautiful ended its Wednesday episode in a haunting crescendo, a crash, a scream, and then silence. Luna Nozawa's body hit the asphalt with the force of both fate and consequence, leaving behind a mystery that threatens to consume everyone who ever crossed her path. The faint echo of the impact still lingers in the minds of viewers, not only as a shocking climax, but as a devastating moral reckoning. Someone was behind the wheel of that car. Someone saw Luna in those final seconds, a fragile silhouette running from ghosts only she could see. But who was it? And did they press the brake, or the accelerator? The roads outside Los Angeles have witnessed countless confessions, betrayals, and crimes of passion, but none as psychologically charged as this one. The scene was constructed like a confession from the city itself. Dim lights, the roar of engines, and the sharp cry of metal against flesh. The audience saw Luna's terrified face reflected in the windshield before the moment of impact, a face that carried all her sins, her pain, her guilt, and her self-destruction. And somewhere on the other side of that glass sat the driver, silent, trembling, or perhaps resolved. Rumors swirl like dust through the corridors of the bold and the beautiful. Could Taylor Hayes, once the epitome of compassion and control, have reached her breaking point? Taylor's descent has been slow, deliberate, and terrifying. Once a psychiatrist who saved others from their madness, she has been drowning in her own. She swore she would find Luna one way or another, her voice quivering between rage and despair. The woman who spent years mending minds has found her own fractured beyond repair. Perhaps in that final moment, she didn't see a young woman running. Perhaps she saw the embodiment of every torment Luna had unleashed, her son's suffering, her own humiliation, the chaos Luna brought into every life she touched. Maybe, as the headlights cut through the fog, Taylor saw a chance to end it all, not just Luna's torment, but her own. And then, there is Sheila Carter, the eternal serpent slithering back into the story whenever the scent of blood hangs in the air. Sheila's claim to be Luna's grandmother was never about affection, but about control. Her love is possession, her protection, destruction. Could Sheila have taken it upon herself to free Luna from her suffering in the only way she knows how? Death has always been Sheila's version of mercy. If she was the one driving that car, perhaps she believed she was saving Luna from herself, or preventing the world from being hurt by her again. To Sheila, redemption and ruin are one and the same. But then comes the most horrifying thought, the possibility that no one killed Luna at all. What if she chose it? Luna's story had been spiraling toward tragedy long before the crash. Her confession to Will Spencer, uttered through trembling lips, "Better to die than live like this," wasn't melodrama, it was prophecy. Luna was a woman hollowed out by her own sins. She had seduced and drugged Will, destroying his sense of self and safety. She had taken 2 lives in moments of madness and denial. When she miscarried in a cold prison cell, alone and delirious, something inside her broke forever. Running through the coastal fog that night, she wasn't fleeing justice, she was fleeing existence. The headlights, the road, the scream. It all may have been her choice. She may have seen freedom in annihilation. For Will Spencer, however, there will be no escape. The accident, whether accidental or deliberate, has trapped him in a cage of guilt from which there is no key. The show is setting up one of the most psychologically harrowing arcs in its history. A young man, already traumatized by assault, now tormented by grief for the very woman who violated him. It is a story soaked in emotional confusion and moral agony, one that will divide the audience between pity and outrage. Will's suffering began long before the accident. Luna stole from him something no one could ever return, his agency, his peace, his innocence. She drugged him, manipulated him, and used his vulnerability as a weapon. And yet, when news of her miscarriage reached him, Will felt an ache he couldn't explain. The show described him as confused by sadness, but confusion is too soft a word. What he feels is the toxic aftermath of trauma, the twisted empathy that binds victim and abuser in invisible chains. Now, after the crash, that bond tightens until it strangles him. The morning after the accident, Will's world will crumble in slow motion. Every sound, the hum of his father's voice, the creak of a door, the whisper of the wind outside, will remind him of that final moment when Luna vanished into the glare of the headlights. He will replay it in his mind again and again, constructing and dismantling alternate versions of reality. Maybe if he hadn't yelled at her. Maybe if he had listened. Maybe if he had forgiven her. He will torment himself with impossible maybes, because self-blame is the only control left to him. Katie Logan and Bill Spencer will watch their son descend into this emotional quicksand, powerless to save him. They will remind him that Luna's choices were her own, that he is not responsible for her death. But guilt has its own gravity. It pulls Will into a private storm where logic and love cannot reach. His eyes will grow hollow, his hands restless. Nights will stretch into sleepless hours where he whispers apologies to a ghost that may not even deserve them. If Luna lives, things may become even darker. The show may trap her between life and death, suspended in a hospital bed, tubes and monitors keeping her alive while Will keeps vigil by her side. His need to make it right will become an obsession. Viewers will see him sitting by her bed for hours, holding her hand, whispering words of guilt and hope, confusing trauma with compassion. This will not be love, it will be the echo of violation disguised as redemption. Will's mind will rewrite the past, turning Luna from predator into victim and himself from victim into savior. It's a tragic illusion, but one that feels real to him. Electra Forrester will watch this unfold in anguish. Once the light in Will's life, she will now stand in the shadow of Luna's memory. She will try to reason with him, to remind him of what Luna did, of the pain and betrayal that followed. But love twisted by guilt becomes unrecognizable. Will won't listen. He'll see Electra's concern as cruelty, her reason as coldness. If Luna awakens from her coma, perhaps with partial amnesia or irreversible injuries, Will's pity will deepen into obsession. He will convince himself that caring for her is atonement, that her pain is his punishment. And the show will explore the frightening question, can a victim ever truly heal while chained to their abuser's ghost, or worse, their body? But if Luna dies, the nightmare will not end. It will simply change shape. Death will immortalize her in Will's mind. She will no longer be the woman who destroyed him, but the girl he failed to save. Every tear he sheds will wash away her crimes until all that remains is an image of innocence that never existed. He will dream of her walking down the beach, hair shining in the sun, smiling in forgiveness that she never granted in life. And he will wake up choking on guilt, unable to forgive himself for something that was never his fault. This is what makes the storyline so profoundly disturbing. It forces the audience to confront how trauma reshapes memory and morality. The Bold and the Beautiful isn't just telling a story of a car crash, it's telling a story of psychological imprisonment. Will's heart becomes the true crime scene, littered with the wreckage of what Luna did to him and what he believes he did to her. Katie will plead with him to move on, to let the dead rest, but will see her concern as interference. Bill, ever the pragmatic father, will try to bury the past in silence, but his son will refuse to let it go. Their home will fill with invisible ghosts, Luna's perfume in the air, her laughter echoing in memory, her shadow stretching across their lives like an open wound. The weeks ahead promise to be the darkest chapter yet in The Bold and the Beautiful. Every episode will peel away another layer of denial, forcing Will and the audience to face uncomfortable truths about guilt, victimhood, and survival. The question, who was behind the wheel, will haunt the narrative, but it's the emotional aftermath that will linger far longer. Whether Taylor's madness, Sheila's ruthlessness, or Luna's despair caused the crash, the true story is about what comes after, how the living carry the dead, and how forgiveness can become another form of self-punishment. In the end, The Bold and the Beautiful has crafted not merely a mystery, but a meditation on human fragility. Luna's fall from grace, Will's torment, Taylor's unraveling sanity, Sheila's twisted love, all intertwine into a tapestry of tragedy that reflects how darkness doesn't always arrive with a villain's laugh. Sometimes it comes in the form of pity, guilt, or misguided compassion. When the headlights fade and the road grows silent again, the question will remain, did Luna's death free anyone, or did it damn them all?